Welcome back. I hope you've been tracking these 5 different video segments, and this will be the last of them. And then we're going to have a question and answer time that will be live in a week. This last segment is got these intriguing words for me. It's productive. That's a great word. But pairing that with this word struggle. Productive struggle and why that's good. And so Doss kind of explained for them. I got excited about learning what this means, but you tell us.
Yeah, productive struggle is one of those things that it kind of relates to an idea of working out or weight training, where if you go ahead and you're lifting a 1 pound weight and it's no stress for you, then you're not going to get any benefit from it. Versus going ahead and actually getting a 500-pound weight and not being able to move it at all and just getting upset about it. And the goal is to find what is the perfect weight that goes ahead and stresses you, but doesn't go ahead and that stresses you to the point where you actually have growth. And within education, as an educator, that is one of the biggest and most challenging pieces that I can do, is to know my student well enough and their strengths and their weaknesses and also their learning style that I can honestly ride that edge between overexerting them and getting them so to the point where they're bored and they're not actually putting forth the effort.
And doing it with every student in your class
and do it
at
with
the
every
same
student
time.
in my class at the same time. And I'm not always successful. Sometimes there's tears. Other times there's disengagement. But it's that ability to go ahead and, over the years, kind of get to that point of recognizing it so that every student gets that growth and struggle.
So for these coaches that are at home, actually it might be a little bit easier to think of, they should know these kids a little bit better than even the
but
team.
they're also got both hats.
Yeah,
That's
as a
right.
As a parent, I would say it's even harder.
I would say,
really?
I think
Okay.
this is the part where being a parent is probably going to be your hardest point.
Okay, tell
Because-
us about that then.
So kids hold it together at school for us. They hold it together.
Okay.
They know, like, if they're in a productive
Nobody wants
struggle
to cry in
moment,
front of the teacher.
no,
That's
or their
true.
peers for that matter. And so, tiny story. I always do Rube Goldberg machines in my classes to help, like, promote their thinking and their thoughtfulness. And it's hard. Like, kids look at it and they think this looks really cool, but no matter who you are, you can be a professional. It takes so many rounds, and that is where, as a teacher, I look at that productive struggle. What can they do? How can they manage this problem? And in the classroom, they get to this point where they're either frustrated with their teammate or frustrated that this thing worked last time and it didn't work this time, and how do we do that? And they might, some of them get to the edge of tears, but I'm there to help guide them as they're doing that. Now, I sent this home last spring for some kids to do, and I quickly felt very humbled that I thought, I'm asking parents to do too much here, because at home, if it doesn't work, the way they were acting is with their safe person. They're with their safe place and their safe people. And this is a really hard hat for parents to transition between. Because I actually was talking with one of the parents who is also a teacher, who I value and love dearly and is amazing. But it was her daughter who was going through this herself.
Yes.
And there's this point where with a parent, they're going to dig in their heels, and there's going to be it's hard. This is probably the hardest one to balance as a parent. And so you'll see your kid crying on a Zoom call because they feel they're behind, or you'll see your kid just wanting to shut down because they just don't want to do it anymore. And it's really hard to get that. And that's where I would say at this point, hopefully the teacher has put a lot of effort into building, even distance-wise, putting a relationship in with that kid. So even if they need to get on a Zoom call or ask for some sort of option to come in and have a distant conversation with them where they can help motivate them. But this is definitely a time, I would say this is an SOS as a parent. If you're having a hard time not knowing how to motivate, this is time to definitely contact the teacher and see how you can get them connected.
Yeah, so my biggest thing is going through it, the student needs to go ahead and do that struggle. And if they're not struggling, they're probably not learning.
It's too easy, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the bigger challenges. As a parent, though, you're trying to go ahead and always be that supportive person. And I think that's where, as a teacher, I'm really hoping that parents will be able to, when they're feeling that frustration or they're feeling that confusion, they'll know how to contact and talk to the teacher and say, you know what, this assignment was too much because, or my student was frustrated on it because. And that's where the social emotional pieces that us as a teacher can start going and giving support in that learning environment, or kind of modifying the lessons or redirecting the lessons to support the students. Because honestly, the parents are the eyes and the ears in the classroom right now.
And just like I said with my example last spring, it's something that we haven't had to grapple with as teachers yet, at least, unless it was spring. So there are times when we might overpush or overtax a student without realizing it, and that's when we definitely need to know, like right away, it's time to reevaluate what that looks like.
Yeah.
Well, from this segment, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I actually, in listening to them, this productive struggle is what you're going to face kind of day in and day out, and it's going to be trying to switch between these hats that you have as a mom or dad, and then this coach that you'll need to remind your kids of. But wearing those hats in the struggle will be a hard thing. So again, write down your questions and make sure you come back and ask all those questions when we have our question and answer time.